So, faraway Nisha, favourite interpretation of Dracula?
Oh, I don't know.
You picked the article. I see you know a lot. I see you've got like a favourite Dracula or weird vampire man.
I just like gothic vampires.
Nisha likes goths. Confirmed. Count Dracula is a character who has been reimagined countless times by pop culture, with each one usually adding or building to the character's mythos in some way. Perhaps the most curious addition to Dracula is a mysterious amulet worn by the character, a facet of Dracula's appearance credited to exactly one man, Bela Lugosi. Alright, so faraway Nisha, Dracula.
So every time you say faraway Nisha, I just think about something I saw in the comments section where someone said it sounds like a band name.
Okay, I can see that, faraway Nisha. We do that a lot. It was like in the Wiki Weekends, we keep accidentally just coming up with sick band names, and it's getting really difficult to call them all. So there you go, folks at home, there's a new band name for you all, faraway Nisha.
Some people might not realise is that Dracula doesn't actually look like what pop culture has made him look like. Yeah, because
I'm going to imagine that a lot of people watching this, when they hear the word Dracula, imagine basically Bela Lugosi's version of the character, which is an impeccably well-groomed, sophisticated, and ultimately supremely fuckable individual with a very intimidating aura surrounding them. However, in Bram Stoker's original Dracula novel, the vampire lord looks nothing like that. And in fact is described as being quite bestial in appearance, sporting a unibrow, a huge bushy moustache, a gaunt appearance, claws and even hair on his hands. A look that is rarely seen in any Dracula-related media, with even the otherwise incredibly accurate and true to the books adaptation starring Christopher Lee, only featuring the moustache.
Doesn't Dracula get more youthful and handsome the more he consumes blood?
Yes, and that's what the pedants are going to be pointing out in the comments right now. And yes, while it is true that Dracula gets more youthful, more powerful, and ultimately more handsome as he consumes blood, but he is ultimately always described as being a gaunt, and here's the important part, inhuman-looking figure in the novel. Something that was changed for live-action takes on the character, largely because they were difficult to realise with the limited prosthetics and special effects they had at the time, and so that changed a whole lot when Bela Lugosi entered the scene, with Bela Lugosi being noted as the man who made Dracula sexy.
It's just a scratch.
Okay, so how did he accomplish this?
The not unimpressive feat of making Dracula sexy. Well, Lugosi accomplished that by basically being himself, because Bela Lugosi didn't really wear any makeup when he portrayed Dracula, believe it or not, save for just some light powder to make his appearance more pale. Everything else was just him, right down to the accent, because he was originally born in Hungary and possessed a thick Hungarian accent, which he believed would be almost identical to one that would be possessed by Count Dracula if he existed, because they lived around the same area of Europe. So not only did he not wear any makeup, he also spoke with his own voice. And in addition to this, Bela Lugosi was quite tall for the time, standing a hair over 6 feet tall, and in addition had very broad shoulders and immaculate posture, which resulted in him having a very commanding and intimidating presence, and allowed him to own the stage and the vaginas of every woman in the room from the moment he stepped onto it.
So yeah, hearing the fact that he didn't wear makeup is pretty impressive.
Yeah, and there were no special prosthetics or anything like besides the fangs for certain scenes where he needed them, which, while impressive, did result in Lugosi essentially tanking his own career, because, as I mentioned, he spoke with his normal speaking voice when playing Dracula, which meant that when he talked normally, everyone thought he was Dracula, because not only did he look exactly like him, he spoke like him too, and Lugosi's take on the character is one of the most iconic. So he basically killed his own career by portraying Dracula so accurately. So it's like a double-edged sword there, where he's famous for the role, but never managed to escape it because he was that good at playing Dracula, which is a bit depressing. So we'll move on and talk about one of my favourite aspects of the characterisation of Dracula that Lugosi invented, and that is the now iconic Dracula stare, which was a distinctive icy glare Lugosi would break out at specific parts of the film or the stage performance, where he just the iconic just point towards where Dracula's reaching out for you with his eyes open wide. That wasn't a thing until Lugosi came onto the scene, and he called it the Dracula stare. And it was so scary for audiences at the time, believe it or not, that many people would shriek in terror when he did it or outright faint. And bear in mind all this happened at stage performances where this suspension of disbelief is like, a bigger deal. And you really do get drawn into a stage play if it's especially good. And by all accounts, Lugosi's performance was that good.
All right, so what is this about a mysterious sex amulet?
Yeah, that's the title of the original article, but I'm not sure what the editor's going to call it when it goes to load to YouTube. But perhaps the most curious thing that Lugosi added to the wardrobe of Dracula was a mysterious amulet that he wore around his neck. Specifically this amulet that you'll see right here. And while that was only worn in a handful of scenes, it has since gone on to become one of the most enduring and iconic aspects of Dracula.
Even now, like if you get a Halloween costume that's a vampire, you do get like a plastic medallion around the neck.
Yeah, and there'll be an example of that behind me, I'm sure. And the weird thing about this is though that medallion does not appear in the original Bram Stoker novel at all. There is no mention of Dracula wearing an amulet or anything around his neck. That was 100% Lugosi's addition to the costume. And given how synonymous the amulet now is with the character of Dracula and vampires in general, people are probably thinking, well, surely it's something mentioned in the original novel. And it's not. There is no mention in the original Bram Stoker Dracula novel of Count Dracula wearing an amulet or anything around his neck. It was purely an invention of Lugosi, which is really interesting on its own, isn't it?
Yeah, it's like you've been asked to play a character and maybe on a whim you thought, I'll just wear this medallion or whatever, and now it's an iconic part of the costume.
To the point where a lot of people think it must have hailed from the original novels, and there's a similar thing with Sherlock Holmes. The Sherlock Holmes, the iconic hat. I forget the name
Deer
of
Stalker.
The Deer Stalker. There it is. I was about to say I forget what it is, but then Nisha comes in with the assist. In the original novels, Sherlock Holmes does not wear a Deer Stalker hat ever. And in fact, Sherlock Holmes is described as being a very fashion-conscious individual who would never wear such a stupid hat. And if you're currently wondering, well, Karl, where did the hat come from? Go watch our video where we talk about it, because we already get enough people complaining that I keep referencing old videos. Do you know what we could do? Just, whoever edits this one, just put a clip in of that video explaining it. There we go. This all changed though when an artist called Sidney Paget came onto the scene and drew this image.
So why did Paget draw that image?
It's because that image was supposed to go alongside the story The Buzzcombe Valley Mystery, in which Sherlock Holmes goes to the countryside. And Paget thought to himself, well, what would he wear in the countryside? We'll make him wear a deerstalker cap. That's what people wear when they're out there. That image ended up being so widely disseminated that Paget decided to make it Holmes's standard attire for whenever he had to go outside of London to solve a crime. And as I just mentioned in that previous sentence, that amulet was entirely Lugosi's idea. And here's where things get kind of weird, because nobody knows where it came from.
What do you mean no one knows where it came from? Just appear out of nowhere?
Well, yeah, that's pretty much it. Just Lugosi one day decided to wear that amulet as part of his costume, and nobody knows where he got it from. And to make things even weirder, nobody knows where it went either, because people have been very interested to track that medallion down, because it's an iconic piece of film history.
Yeah, it's a prop.
No one knows. No one knows where it went. Well, that's the thing. People don't know if it was a prop. People don't know if it was a prop that Lugosi found somewhere and decided to wear. But according to some stories, it was a treasured Lugosi family heirloom that Lugosi just decided to wear on stage. But because it only appeared in a couple of scenes, it's only since become iconic, no one saw fit to ask Lugosi about it at the time. And my favourite rumour about where it went, because there's the more mundane ones, such as it was lost, which I don't like. One of the rumours is that Lugosi wore it when he was buried. And the reason I really, really want that to be true is because Lugosi was also buried wearing Dracula's cape. Because he loved the character that much, even though it ruined his career, that he was buried dressed like Dracula. It's like, a final thing. Like Bela Lugosi is Dracula, and he demanded, I want to be buried in my Dracula cape. But he may have also been wearing the Dracula amulet, which means that somewhere out there might be a guy buried dressed like Dracula, and that's fucking awesome. Like, there's a bit in the film Ed Wood, which takes some liberties with history, but there's a moment in that film where Bela Lugosi is getting measured up for his own coffin, and he's lying down in the coffin of a Dracula pose, and he yells at the guy selling it, going, "That's the most uncomfortable coffin I've ever laid in." He looks at him and goes, "Oh yeah, 'cause he's Dracula, of course he's laid in coffins." Yeah. And I hope to God that's real. and it's not something the filmmakers made up to just make him seem more eccentric, because that's fucking awesome.
Too constrictive. I can't even fold my arms.
Gee, Mr. Lugosi, I've never had any complaints.
This is the most uncomfortable coffin I've ever been in.
Like, what would you do if that happens? You just sat there and then Dracula walks in.
I think I just run away. Like, you mentioning he was like really tall and quite big and just something odd about it. It reminded me when I was little. I was really scared of, I think it was, one of my uncles from like my mum's side. He was really, really tall. And when I was really, really small, I was absolutely terrified of him just because he was tall. Like, he used to come and visit my grandparents when I was there, and I would scream and run and hide underneath the table. So I imagine that's what it's like when Dracula enters the room. Yeah, because Bela Lugosi had like immaculate posture. That just reminds me of a moment in the show Modern Family. And trust me, I'm going somewhere with this. And it is the character Manny watches a horror film and he's really scared of the horror film and he's scared of the villain. So what his stepdad does is he gets in contact with the actor who appeared in the film. Oh no. He contacts him and goes, oh, my son, I know it's a weird request, but my stepson, he's terrified of your character. Can you please come to my house? Because he knows him due to various shenanigans. And just talk to him so he sees that you're a guy and that it's just a character you're playing. Okay. He goes, oh yeah, sure, I'll do that. I'll even bring the weapon I used to murder all the people in the film so he can see it's a prop. But the kid doesn't know about it. So he's sat in the front room watching TV. Oh no. Like going, it's okay, he's not really, can't get me. The kid looks out and just sees the guy from the film. And he's like, hey Manny, I'm here to see you. Are you in? Would you want to see my sword or my dagger or something? He's like, ah!
No, sir. Hey, are you Manny? I'm here for you. Yes, look at that guy. What's wrong?
That is closely followed by what I think may be one of the greatest examples of scream acting, a field of acting I feel very strongly should be acknowledged more, from the show IT Crowd. And it's where everyone thinks Jen has died. And that guy thinks, oh, Jen died. And he goes around telling everybody that he slept with her the day before. Obviously, Jen's not dead. And he just sees her throughout the day, like she goes past on like a trolley or something like that. And he just sees like her head go like across some windows and shits himself. And he goes home. But while all this is happening, Jen finds out that he's telling everyone he slept with her. And she doesn't know that people think she's dead. So she calls him up to yell at him. Which, as you might imagine, shits the guy up. She's like, he gets a phone call, someone thinks he's dead. Stop telling everybody I slept with you. Shitting himself. But then she goes to his house, her car breaks down, it starts raining, and it results in what might be one of the most genuine screams of terror I've ever seen in anything. Where the guy's there like, she can't get me, it's not real. He looks out of his window and just lit by a single street lamp in the rain. It's just Jen there. And he's like, ah! And he just like backs into the corner, she's banging on his window. Like, let me in, you bastard. One of my favourite screams is from an episode of Supernatural where one of the brothers, he gets this I think it's like a disease or some sort of infection called yellow fever. This fever makes him scared of literally everything, and it's really funny. There's a scene where they're searching this like abandoned house or something. There's like these lockers in this room, and this locker is like rattling. And the brother opens the locker and this cat jumps out and he does the most amazing scream. There's just something about scream acting. It really does need its own category at the Oscars.